Okay. Welcome to Embrace Your Edges. I am Hillary in Ontario, Canada. And joining me tonight is my special guest and my social media manager, Colette with Love. Hello, Colette.
Hi everyone. Hi.
Okay. Yeah, I still don't have my entrance music yet. We have not decided if we're going to stay on this platform. I found out what the problem is and why I'm lagging. See when I move? I'm lagging.
Yeah.
um, so the reason for the lag, I am not going to be able to fix right now. So
Mhm.
we might have to go back to Riverside. Anyways, let's get on with the show. Before I get on with the show, how was your week so far?
Oh, my week has been great. It's just been a busy week, but also the weather's been cold on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so we're just actually this week we're talking about some things, some new updates that we have for you all
Yes.
later on tonight,
Mm-hmm.
about changing our schedule. So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That was Amazon, I guess. Alexa there. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have some exciting stuff coming up this week. So that's what we're going to talk about later. But
Mm.
yeah, how about you? How was your weekend or week?
Girl. It was interesting. Mental health is a thing.
Oh no.
Let's leave it there, right? Um, so I had a very interesting week. Some successes, some failures, and a lot of great lessons. Really appreciative about. Um, yeah, but I just want everyone to remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Remember to hit that subscription button wherever it is on my screen. And, join us also on Facebook and Instagram and leave us some comments or suggestions for the show, as well as some questions, as we embrace our edges and tell me about your edges. And edges, when I say edges, I'm talking about your, your ups and downs in life and things that have made you who you are today and maybe the journey and growth that you're on. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about O.J. Simpson. So April 2024 this year, April 10th, at age 76 years old, due to cancer, O.J. Simpson left this world, and he left behind five children, two from Nicole and three from the ex-wife. I think her name was Marguerite, and
hmm
and of course, still lots of questions about the murder of Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman, who was 25 at the time. Um, that happened in June 12th, 1994. Man, the 90s were great, but not that time. That time was heated.
Yes, for
And there was
sure.
a lot of racial tension around it and happening at the time. And the question was why was there so much attention on that case, and we had things that led up to it that made it heighten even more. In 1991, Letitia Harlins, on March 16th, she was murdered as a storekeeper shot her, the 15-year-old, in the back of the head, accusing her of stealing $1.79 um, uh, orange juice, and she actually had the money in her hand. Rodney King, that was one of the most famous quote unquote beatings, that ever happened live on television. To During that time, to actually see something like that, that happened on March 3rd of 1991, and then we had the murder of Nicole Simpson and Ron Golden happened in 1994, and the trial happened in 1995. And during 1991, between 1991 and 1995, a lot of different injustice happened in the black community, and there were raids from the LAPD, and they had this uh, hip hop, I guess, police. They used to call them, that would actually come and harass the black community. There was just so much stuff going on, and for example, the shopkeeper that had killed Letitia. She got suspended sentence as well as probation, and I think it was like 500 hours, and plus she had to pay restitution like $500 plus the funeral expense for Letitia, and then Rodney King. Those guys all got off, and it was a lot of people getting off. And so I'm
Hmm.
just giving you the context of what was happening during that time and why the behavior that came after, during, and after the O.J. Simpson trial happened. So, Collect with Love, you want to tell us a little bit about the trial and some stuff that maybe some highlights that we didn't really know about.
Yeah, so I'll start off with the trial so you have an idea of what happened. So the defense team that represented O.J. Simpson was called the Dream Team, and the lawyers that were part of this team were Robert Shapiro, Johnny Couchran. Oh no, I hope I didn't butcher his last name there, and
You
F. Lee
just butchered that
Bailey.
man's name. You didn't have the black community
But
coming
one
for
of their
you.
main arguments, oh dear. One of their main arguments was the police mismanagement of the case. The defense focused on discrediting the LA Police Department. They claimed that the police failed to conduct a well-constructed, proper investigation. So Johnny actually addresses the court, stating that the main police involved within the case were racist. He argued that police detectives tried to frame Mr. Simpson of the crime by planted crucial evidence, like the bloody glove in the residence. This led to the famous court act where O.J. Simpson tried on the murder glove discovered in his home, and to much surprise, the glove did not fit.
Mm-hmm.
So if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. And that
Mm.
was from Johnny. So this is based on Nicole Brown Simpson. So that was his ex-wife at the time, or they were in the process of that. And she was brutally murdered, as well as, I believe his name was Ron,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was the
Ron Goldman, he
the
was
waiter.
25 years old.
Ron Goldman, yes,
Yeah.
25 years old. He was the waiter from one of the restaurants, but I believe he was also a friend of hers as well as she also knew him personally. Yeah, this case was pretty crazy, but I did find information, or I did hear information
Okay.
throughout my research, even previously too, about OJ's son, Jason Simpson, and he
Okay.
is actually the first the first child that he had, the first son from his ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
And her name was Marguerite.
Mm-hmm. Marketing.
Yeah. So the information that I'm going to present here is actually information that was based on the crime book, OJ is Innocent and I Can Prove It, by Dallas private investigator William Deere. Okay, so he pointed out evidence that can incriminate Jason Simpson. His theory also was on the documentary, BBC's documentary, O.J. Simpson, The Untold Story. So I highly recommend to watch that because there's a lot of evidence there, more detailed.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so who was Jason? Who was Jason Simpson? So Jason Simpson is the O.J.'s first son from his first marriage, as I said earlier. Jason had an actual difficult childhood, losing his sister. So he had lost his younger sister. In an accident, in the sense of she drowned in the family pool.
Mm-hmm.
So he has that trauma, and I guess he's never handled it as the years went by. Jason had, so yeah, so typical childhood. Deere's book suggests that Jason actually began abusing alcohol and cocaine as early as 14 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and there's actually medical records that show that he had 3 suicide attempts.
Wow.
Um, but it gets even crazier. So
Okay.
Jason actually attacked his ex-girlfriend with a knife, and at the time of the murder, he was on probation during
Oh.
that time,
Mm-hmm.
because he also attacked his boss with a
Mm-hmm.
knife. Not only did he do that, he actually started off punching him aggressively when the
Mm-hmm.
guy turned around, his
Mm-hmm.
boss turned around, and then he grabbed a kitchen knife and started to stab him,
Mm-hmm.
or attempted. And he was diagnosed, like prior to all of this, he was diagnosed with rage disorder, which is like a Jekyll and Hyde syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a short fuse. He had blackouts in the past as well. And during this time of the murder, he actually stopped taking his meds. So all of this was happening. As William, I think that was his name, William continues to investigate,
Yeah.
he also realized that he actually was supposed to visit Nicole. Um,
Okay.
oh no, Nicole was supposed to go to his restaurant. Sorry, Nicole was supposed to go to his restaurant
Mm-hmm.
after their daughter's recital, like her dance performance, and they decided last minute to change the restaurant. So his theory is that he was upset with this and went back to
Hey,
Nicole's place and had his rage.
Rudy.
Oh,
He's like,
oh,
hey,
he's in the
cuz.
chat.
He's in the chat.
Welcome.
Hi, Rudy.
Um, there's actually more evidence here. I'm just pulling it up quickly here so we can get more into it. So they also found a knife in Jason's storage locker. So Deere purchased the contents of a storage locker
Mm-hmm.
um, owned by Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at the time of the murders, which contained a knife that matched the description of the murder weapon.
He's saying hi. He's
Um,
saying hey. He said hey, fam.
eh,
Hey, Rudy, tell us what you think about the O.J. Simpson trial and all of the racial tension that came with it. Yeah, go on.
right. So the Swiss and stiletto knives owned by OJ were ruled out as the murder weapon, but a
Mm-hmm.
forensic scientist hired by Deere to examine Jason's knife concluded that the butt of the knife matches the injury on Nicole's top of her head.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So Jason had previously attended the Army and Navy Academy, and a former classmate told Deere that he had been trained in hand-to-hand combat as well as field knife training. OJ, on the other hand, was known to hate the sight of blood. Jason has no alibi. The LAPD determined that the murders took place at 9:45 to 10:05 p.m. After 9:50 p.m., Jason was alone and had no alibi. At the restaurant where he worked, Jason's time card for the night of June 12th was handwritten even though the electronic time clock was working, meaning his alibi could be false.
Wow.
Jason also was known to have a hate love-hate relationship with the mother of his youngest siblings, so that's Nicole, and if it so basically he had like a short temper. He was known for that. So OJ, in the last statement he has here is that OJ hired a defense team for Jason. So in the days after the murders and 4 days before his own arrest,
Mm-hmm.
OJ hired top attorney Carl Jones to represent his oldest son. However, Jason had never ever, like he never even been interviewed by the police, nor he was being investigated for the murders. So if a client is wrongly accused of the murder, the most logical argument for a defense lawyer is to suggest who other than their client could be responsible. Yet OJ's Dream Team defense made no attempt to do so. Is it possible that this is because OJ was protecting his son from being incriminated? And that's how it
Whoa.
ended.
That's a different
For
spin
that
altogether.
documentary,
Yeah.
he refused to give any statements when they reached out to him.
Who's that?
So,
OJ?
yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's different. So I asked Rudy that question, and Rudy said one word. What's the one word, Rudy? What's the one word? So he said message retracted. Uh, you know, during that time, I remember specifically he said guilty. Let me tell you something. He said one word, guilty. You know, there was so
Yes.
much
Well,
going on. We had the LA riots happen around that time as well. Um, they were because this was at the end. The trial was at the end of all this heat. Hi, baby Eiffel. Hello, people. She said hi. Thanks for coming in. What do you think about the LJ trial and all the questions that are left behind? Yeah. So there was so much tension going on, and there was one particular article I read where this person was at the hospital, and his colleagues were getting upset because the verdict came back so quickly, and they were like, "See, they did it against to us again." And then when they read the verdict and they said not guilty, they all started rejoicing and saying, "We won, we won, we won." So a
mhm.
statement like that was actually being echoed across the world, and the question being, why was that? Why was this particular case so important? Why did this particular case had that brought up that reaction in a lot of people of color? And you know, a lot of people would say, it's because OJ was famous and people liked him. That's not really true. There's a lot of black people who didn't like the man. You know, he wasn't really supportive of the black community. If you look at his history, he didn't really do much for the black community. Um, yeah, but I think because of all these different cases that had happened prior to that, including the riots, including the Rodney King beating, especially Latasha, the 15-year-old that was shot in the back of the head, and there was hangings. There were so many different things that were happening. It was,
Hmm.
and everyone always ties it back to Emmett, right? They go back to all the way back there. And so it was all of these different injustices that had happened in the past. And now, you know, from from things where, a black man would look at a white woman, or has been accused of looking at or whistling at a white woman, and was killed, and nothing happened. And it's always nothing happened. I think what happened in this particular situation was it was a win. It was at we won this one, you know. And I found that the most saddest thing. I remember sitting on my bed and crying because I said, we this is crazy, you know. There
Hmm.
was a truck driver. I don't know if you remember this one. The truck driver had gotten pulled out of his truck during the riots and was beaten just because he was there. Um, and it was so much anger at anyone that appeared white at that time. And I think that we missed the opportunity to talk about why that was happening, what caused it to happen like that. A lot of those outside of the black community thought it was because he was famous. It had nothing to do with his fame. It had to do with the fact that so many other injustices had happened prior to that, especially within 1990 to 1995 to 1994. There were so many. There were so many. And then the LAPD, having a lot of entrapment situation in cases and having that hip hop, um, police.
Hmm.
It was, they saw it as them winning because if you listen to that statement, we won. It wasn't he won, it was we.
Yeah.
They included themselves in that, and I don't agree with that, but um, that was a hard one. So let me just read a little what's here.
Hmm.
Rudy says the case was payback for all the Rodney King and all the crap that cops in the California did to all the black people. I agree. I agree. And they and you know what? And the LAPD with their nonsense. I mean, they really messed it up. you
They
know,
really did.
they
How those
did. You
cops
want to
got
talk
off
a
for
little bit about
Rodney.
that, Nick, Colette, about what they did that? Because remember the whole glove doesn't fit. Remember, if it doesn't fit, quit.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, what was it? If it doesn't fit, you gotta quit. Remember that one?
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
the
go
glove
on.
doesn't fit, you must have quit.
You must have quit. Yeah.
We'll talk more where more on the
Yeah. On all the different kind of you want to call them f ups that they did the LAPD because I mean there's no other word for it. They
oh
real
during the case.
during the case they really messed it up.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
blood. There was
Yeah. There was planting
basically
of blood.
tampering of the
Yeah. Tampering
evidence.
of the blood. Yeah. There was that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm just skimming through here of the evidence. Um
There was lying on the stand too, because they got called out lying on the stand as well, right? Saying where
yeah.
they were, changing the times, as to where their location were, etc. Um,
Yeah, yeah, the handling of the evidence by the LAPD was unprofessional in the least. So the way they was handled by the police, it led the courts and jury believe that something was not right.
mm-hmm,
So the defense highlighted the faults of the LAPD
mm-hmm,
and how he was framed. So they believe that he was framed um, for like the planting of where the evidence was as well.
mm-hmm,
Like some things had, blood specks on it one on the actual day, or like they didn't have blood specks on it on the actual day, but then later they did. There was actually one um when I was watching the OJ Made in America,
Yes.
they were saying how they were drops like in the
Yes.
car, the blood
Yes.
and the evidence in the car
Mm-hmm.
apparently. One minute it was OJ Simpson's blood or Nicole's blood, but then one day was mixed. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
there was some
It was there
odd
was a
things going
lot
in
of
there in the car.
tampering of the blood, especially, and that
Yeah.
was one of the. I mean, you could actually see when the turn of the case actually happened around that whole
Hmm.
situation, and the focus then became the LAPD instead of O.J. Simpson, and I mean, let's go back to talking about Jason, and where are
Hmm.
things with that, and how has that been handled by the justice system?
Well, no one actually, still to this day, Jason has not been questioned. I don't know if because of OJ Simpson's death, they may actually now, try. I don't know if they're going to open the case again. I'm not sure,
Right.
but I really do feel like they should really look into it,
Okay.
um, because there is evidence towards him. He does have, like, yes, OJ was violent towards Nicole, but he never used a weapon in all the times that he dealt with her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Jason, he has more, like he's more.
There's
I feel
more
like
a reason
his
for him
a
to.
chance, yeah,
Okay.
as a being a suspect, a lead suspect.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Um, in my
I've
eyes, I
never
feel like it
heard
was him.
that.
I just took it
I've
took
never
down.
heard that spin, the spin of that, around. I mean, I remember there was some talk when the trial was going on, and the
Hmm.
focus was the fact that he had so much interaction with his father, and he kept showing up for his dad, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of video with his dad and him, and but what we were left was that he didn't really have a good relationship with his dad, so it was a little bit confusing to
Hmm.
say, but I never heard that kind of version in regards to the amount of evidence they had against him.
Yeah, it was shut down. It was when it came to Jason, everything
Mm,
was shut down. OJ never entertained it. His team never entertained it.
right.
The police never entertained it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like I feel like they had a plan, and really think that honestly, they rode off with what the society was thinking and used that for their advantage. And they probably even
Mm,
knew that they were going to get that no one was going to get charged for this.
right.
Jason would continue to live his life and change his ways. OJ will continue to live his life, do his thing. I feel like it was all like a win for them.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty
Wow.
crazy. So I don't,
Yeah.
but I think his death is actually the beginning, to be honest. Especially now that our community now is more vocal,
Yes.
through technology,
Yes.
and we have Netflix who are always quick to make a documentary. So I'm sure we're
Oh,
gonna
you're killing right
have
now.
more
Yeah.
detailed investigations now. I don't think it's
Um,
the end.
well, also too, I think that we are more understanding of race and the different intersections
Yes.
that we all travel across, and I also believe that we are in a better space. We still have a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I think we're in a better state of understanding and removing race from. I mean, we can't completely remove race from this particular case because of
Yeah.
all of the different things that were happening around that time. But we can remove the fact that this was a woman who was murdered and a young man who was, at the beginning of his life, he was 25 years old. And then we have two children that have lost their mother and also probably saw the evidence of the murder because they were in the house at the time that it happened,
Hmm.
right? Um, yeah, that was a hard one. So the question is should he rest in peace? Should we be done with this? Should we never talk about it anymore? Uh, and the answer is no.
No.
Not no that he shouldn't rest in peace. I am not God. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
no, we should not sweep this under the rug. I think it got swept under the rug for too many years. And I read recently that the Goldman family is now working with the estate to recover some money towards the children and towards the parents of Ron Goldman. Um, so I mean, money can never replace a life, but I think it is a justice for them to
Hmm.
get something at this point, and I'm not sure why they had to wait till he passed away to get that. Um, I heard that his camp was saying that Simpson was actually going to give it to them anyways.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Rudy say, I don't think that the case was ever going to be open again, but strange things has happened in this country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. But the whole
Yeah.
thing too. I mean, it could still open up again because there's no double jeopardy. I mean, it's not the same person being charged for the crime, and he was acquitted, so they could reopen the case and look at more closely at some of the evidence to see if any of this does apply. Um, you know, look, let's talk about race and
Hmm.
why are we still talking about race? Why is this
Yeah.
still happening? Why is it still going on? And why is everyone still uncomfortable about this case? This case, you either it was either guilty for you or not guilty. There was no I don't know.
Yeah.
And no one, and the thing is, I found that the reasoning for you're guilty or you're in or not guilty was around race. It had to do with race, you know. Uh, for some people of color, when they during that time, you could not advocate and say that you thought he was guilty. I mean, saying that in a crowd of people was not a good idea, because now you're
Yeah.
against the community. Baby Eiffel says, when they don't have a case, they throw out. Uh, I can't see. I need my glasses.
Throughout
Tendency.
tentacles?
It got botched from the get go, but ambitious. Oh, by ambitious detectives. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
We agree. We agree that you know they do they did they man, that wasn't even a botch. That was a complete f up. It was completely
Yeah.
effed up. And they wanted him so badly that they started creating evidence, and that's where I think. And so now it was another situation of, see, they're trying to
Yeah.
put a innocent black man behind jail.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think they were trying to also because of the domestic violence cases, they were trying to ride on that too. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he was violent towards her.
Yes.
But this I really think it's Jason for me. I don't think he had anything, but I do feel like he does know. Like he did know who
Yeah.
did it for sure. I definitely do feel like he did know
Yeah.
who did it, but definitely
I
not
don't know
him.
whether he did it or not did it, but I
Yeah.
know he did know who did it. I
Yes.
he
Yeah.
knew, whether it was him or whether it was his son or whether it was some person he knew or he paid someone or whatever. He knew exactly what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's why he was so confident too. He just I feel like he knew he was gonna get off because he was good. He had a good group, good
that was one
team,
of those cases too
had community.
where the celebrity also had a little bit of power and won, because
Right.
I remember watching the chase. I've never seen a more patient chase in my life, before or since. I've never seen the police chase a person so long and be so patient with them and having such negotiation, um, and not knowing whether or not the guy was a hostage or not, his friend. Rudy says, some good lawyers would say it's double jeopardy because he was not found guilty. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I don't know. This case for me has always been. I mean, I
Yeah.
still. It's and what gets lost, however, is Nicole and Ron Goldman. We don't really talk as much about those about them as we
Yeah.
do O.J. Simpson. You know,
Right.
which happens a lot in crime, in true crime. I find, especially with American crime, we tend to
Yeah.
focus so much on the person who's committed the crime because it's so.
Like Ted Bundy.
Yes, I don't want to use the word fascinating, but that's basically what it is. People are fascinated by all of the different things and the drama and the antics behind all of it. But
Hmm.
so, should we leave this alone or should we investigate? Should we reopen the trial? Should we start digging again to see what really happened, or should we just say, you know what, they're all gone? As you mentioned, his team, majority of them have died from cancer. You said,
Yeah, majority of them. Yeah,
yeah.
majority of them have.
Mm-hmm.
Some are still living, but some. But
Okay.
yeah, but majority of them have the main
Right.
ones.
And then you have the Goldman parents are still alive. I think his both parents are still alive. Uh, you know, but
Yeah.
the people who have lost um, the most from all of this are Nicole and OJ's children. Those two had to grow up with all of the different theories. Think about it. Your whole life,
Yeah.
everyone has a theory about how your mom was killed, or and it has gone from bad to worse to good to bad. I
Hmm.
mean, it's gone all over the place where
And
she's having an affair. There's
yeah,
a lot of victim blaming in this situation
yeah.
too. A lot. There's a lot of that.
And not only that, but the kids are also black mixed race. They're black and
Yeah.
white.
Yes.
So they're really caught in the middle of all of
Yes.
this.
Yes. And that's another thing too. Is like, which side do you
Hmm.
take? I know that they were very close to their father as well because they used to visit him a lot while he was in prison, incarcerated, and they
Hmm.
still were there for him when he came out of prison. Rudy's Baby Eiffel says nothing was beyond a reasonable doubt, so they did the best they could with the evidence collected. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I agree, but I think also too there was a lot of pressure from that jury. There was so much
Oh
pressure on that
yeah.
jury. I mean, think about it. They
Yes.
knew you just had the riots. You just had the
Yeah, the
LA
riots.
riots. There was so much racial tension. Even
Right.
if you wanted to put that man guilty, just think about it. You
Yeah,
as a
no one
juror,
could. Yeah, you
especially if
couldn't
you
give
were
a touch.
white,
Yeah. Yeah.
imagine being sitting on that jury and
Yeah.
having to. That's a lot of pressure. That's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure. So there was like so much. So one theory was that OJ depended on the racial tension that was happening at the time to
Yes.
distract what was really evidence uh,
Right.
in that the fact that he knew something, you
Hmm.
know. So this is one. This
And it
is
was
one for the,
crazy.
huh?
Yeah. No, it's definitely crazy. And for me, because I was born around those times, I didn't really know. So
Yeah,
I had
you
to
were
wa
born right at
rewatch
the
a
height of
lot of
that.
stuff.
You were born right
But
at the beginning of it, where all the
yeah,
that tension started, and there were all these different murders of people in unarmed. And this is the history,
so much
unfortunately, of
hurt.
America. And I'll stop myself there. Not only the United States, but it's everywhere, where you have
Yeah.
unarmed people of color, being black people especially being murdered, just because of the color of their skin and the fact of the presence of
Yeah.
their culture. And so that in the 90s, it got really, really heated, and the temperature was high. It was one hot summer. The temperature was really, really high, and I don't think even if they had evidence that they would have come back with any other verdict other than that. I think there was a
Yeah.
lot of pressure for that jury, a lot of pressure for the judge. Um, you know, in that case. I think he did a great job, by the way. Um, but this was one for the books where
Yeah.
we were left with the same question that we started out with: who did it?
Hmm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
just everyone, I feel like the community and the black community was hurt, and so would they be, right?
Yes, of
Because the
course.
Rodney King, like, how's all four cops just good job, guys, it's okay, you
Yeah,
know? And
that one was a
then we
really kick in
have,
the face.
yeah, that's
That was a kick,
crazy.
a slap to the community. I mean, if you look
And you saw
at,
the video took a long time. Like
yes,
this guy wasn't. You can tell the guy was defend like he had nothing in his hands. Like he was trying to get up, and every time he tried to get up, they would hit him harder.
and you see, and these are the stories that was told by the African American community for many, many, many,
Hmm.
many years, and never had any kind of video evidence of it, and that's why it was so
Hmm.
important, and that's why that particular video was so
Hmm.
historical, because they've never been actual evidence of it, video evidence of these the abuse or by the police or by the white community. So that was again, and then it was a slap in the face where now these men that just assaulted this man on video got off, and the man that was assaulted did not get off. He got charged. So,
Yeah.
so it was it it was like what did my mom say? She said it was the right amount of ingredients for the pot to simmer and then
Hmm.
boil to the point beyond control. Where no one was really thinking. No one. I mean, if you ask, what was Victor? Hi, Victor. He put up a emoji, sunshine, I think it is. Yeah, no one really. I mean, if you ask half of people that were there,
Hmm.
tell me everything about this trial, they probably couldn't tell you everything. They were so
Yeah.
focused in the fact that there was a black man on trial for another black man on trial for doing something to a white woman. And no one
Yeah.
actually had, according to them, real evidence. So,
Yeah.
and
And
but yet you're ready to crucify him. Not on our watch. We're gonna win this one. That's basically what it was.
yeah.
That's
And
basically
I
what it
heard
was.
too that basically everyone like stopped to hear the
Yes.
verdict. Like
Yes.
everyone was literally
People took
waiting.
time off of work. Girl, you should see it. It
Yeah.
was something. I remember people closed down the stores, and I mean, people rushed down
Wow.
to the courthouse. If you can get to the courthouse, there was
Yeah.
marches after. There was this. I mean, it was a big
Wow.
celebration. People were partying and dancing and cheering, and I sat on my bed and I was
That's
crying because
crazy.
I said, no one's thinking about those kids. No one's
Yeah.
thinking about a person got murdered. Like, how do we know he didn't do it or didn't know who did it? And
Yeah.
but that no one cared. That was not the
Pretty
point.
much.
It wasn't the point. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was a celebrity. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was wealthy. It had nothing to do with the evidence that was being that had been tampered or not tampered. It had nothing to. All it had to do was here was another black man being put on trial for doing something to a white woman, and
Yeah.
not again.
Yeah.
That's
And
basically it. And so
yeah.
we missed the opportunity to actually have real evidence and have, it actually being a real trial actually happened and justice actually happened because the focus was black versus white.
Hmm.
Uh, Rudy, so Baby Alpha said reception here is so choppy.
Oh.
I think it's happening everywhere. There's bad weather coming, Baby Eiffel. We're gonna have some thunderstorms, so I hope you enjoyed today, because tomorrow, tonight and tomorrow is gonna be horrible. Um, I mean, we can go on and on and on about the O.J. Simpson case, and he ended his life ended. And it's very interesting how everyone on his team majority of them, including himself, all died from cancer. That's very ironic.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. But, anyways, he died on April 10th and left behind, lots of questions still. And to this day,
Yeah.
I think people will continue to ask that question: who did it? Who killed Nicole Simpson and who killed Ron Goldman?
London.
And half of the audience is going to say, I'm going to go quarter actually. Quarter of the audience is going to say O.J. Simpson. Quarter is going to say Jason. The other quarter is going to say, I think they had to say Mafia or something like that had done it.
Oh yeah, Mom.
Yeah.
Okay, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was that mafia spin that he had paid someone because remember he had went away, and so they had said
Yeah.
that he had owed the mob some money, and that was their way of paying him back. And then the other part is going to say he's not guilty. So we're still left with all the questions as
Yeah.
to
It's pretty
what really
crazy.
truly happened, and I don't think we'll ever know. I think that secret has
Unsolved.
is an unsolved mystery, and but to some people it's solved. It's
Yeah.
unsolved mystery, and I think that it will always be a question. But are we where we need to be with racism and with race and the race relations in North America, which is actually Turtle Island? Are we really how far have we come from that situation where we can look at a trial and see the evidence and not see the culture and the color behind, standing in front of us? How far have we come? Have we actually even make a movement towards looking at justice and not looking at color? What do you think? I think that we've made a little bit of, I mean, you have the Rodney King beating, and then you come and you fast forward
Yeah.
to the 20s, 2000s, and you have, George Floyd. Um,
All the
okay, we got
things.
here. Baby Eva says, "No, never. I wouldn't change, and we'll see this day today." Um, Rudy says, "All the parties involved are dead. Not all of them, Rudy. They're not all dead yet, and gone. We never know what really happened." Um, and Baby said, "Baby steps." Yeah, and that's the part. I think you guys probably missed the beginning of it. Colette with Love was sharing that the son, Jason, there was evidence that one of the knife that he owned actually matched the. You want to repeat that piece?
Oh, sure. Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the knife had actually matched a mark that was on her head. So the butt of the knife.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah, so
and
like
that
so they
he was
compared it.
being investigated, and then his dad kind
Yeah.
of changed the attention to himself, uh,
Yeah.
and that's how we got
The butt of the knife,
onto
yeah.
O.J. Simpson, and that's why some of the stuff didn't fit up or match him. So that was another theory as well,
Yeah.
that the son who had a history of violence um, against others and was on probation at the time for violence. Um, Act of violence was
And he
actually the
was a
person,
chef. It was
and
so
he was a
crazy to
chef
me.
as well.
He
And
had a knife set that he always because every night like chefs have their own little
yeah,
knife set. So he had his
mm,
own
mm,
and he carried that all the time.
wow,
And the ex-girlfriend actually said that he left when he left her house, he had his knife set.
wow.
He, so
And so there's a timeline as to where he's not. They cannot. You
there's
know,
no one else to say
there's
yeah
no
during the
solid
time that she was
timeline
murdered.
for
Yeah.
him. Right, right.
Yeah.
So, and
So,
then there's another theory. So we don't. Again, we're left with
mhm.
I don't know. But I think the conversation needs to had as to how far has racism come, how far has the police come, and how far has the relationship between the police and the black community come, and where is it going, and how can we get it to move forward faster and better and more. Um, with more understanding and what can we do, what can be done.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and then
actually,
yeah,
oh, sorry. Go
no, go on.
ahead. No, I was saying that actually one of the documentaries I was watching,
Yeah.
the lead guy at the time, I forgot his
So
name, but he was the
Rudy
LAPD.
asked who else is involved. Nobody else was charged. That all that's all hearsay or speculations. Yeah,
Who else was over on the
and Rudy,
list?
like, there's a lot of theories out there. Some were done during the trial, some were done after the trial or before the trial. I mean, we've heard things from the mob to the Ron Goldman actually got blamed for killing Nicole and saying it was a murder
Right.
suicide. We heard the son did it. We heard there's so many different um, theories around what really happened, and that's because no one knows what really happened. The only person that actually knew what happened was the person that just died on April 10th, and Nicole and Ron. Yeah.
And that's another thing. And the former
Hi,
LAP
Petra.
at the
How are
time, Chef
you? Yeah, go on.
Daryl Gates, he made that statement about
Mm,
how blacks weren't normal when they were asking why um, men, because they were choke holding, right? The black
yes.
men when they're arresting them and they would die
Right.
because of how they were doing. And he
Yeah.
made a statement that black weren't normal people,
Yeah.
and
There
everyone
was
was
a
going
case.
off. Yeah.
There was a case very right before the OJ trial where there was a black man that was arrested and they had choked him so much, and
Hmm.
they had left there's a particular item that they use when it's like a spit guard, and they had
Yeah.
left it on him in the cell and he suffocated. um yeah, so there were
That's crazy.
yeah, there was quite a bit. Again, as I said, there was so much stuff going on about race around that time that
Hmm.
I don't think there was ever going to be no other outcome. They couldn't be.
Yeah.
Even if that jury wanted to find him guilty, they couldn't. They really
Hmm.
couldn't. It would have set LA on fire. It would have.
Yeah.
It would have. I think USA would have had some fires all over the place. It would be so many riots, girl, because they even had riots here in
Yeah.
Toronto. They had riots here in Toronto. I remember that, and
Oh,
the
okay.
reason why I remember the riots in Toronto
Oh,
because
wow.
Canada trying to keep a lot of things quiet now.
Yeah.
We call racism in Canada nice racism, called systemic. Anyways, the reason why I remember particularly the riot in Toronto is because it was majority Caucasians that were doing the rioting, and there were only and when the media was showing it, they were showing blacks, and this one girl actually got help from the police, and the police let her stand on their cruiser and to yell and say, "You guys need to stop this because in the morning they're going to blame us." I remember that specifically for
Hmm.
that reason. So it was just so much
Wow.
race. It was all about race during that time. Um, the colonial settlers set the stage for the way that African Americans are treated. This is Baby Eiffel talking. Uh, they wore or they wore or compare them to animals. Yep, yep,
Hmm.
that is true. I mean, there was a science. I remember they had this thing where there was a science. Uh, oh, correct me if I'm wrong, someone. There was some kind of science or theory that blacks had smaller brains. You remember that one? That black people
Oh,
had
wow.
small. Yeah, this was years and years ago. They said that black people had smaller brains, and that's why they weren't able to, comprehend certain things. That they were faster because their ankles and feet were built like animals,
Wow.
and that's why they were able to run so quickly. There was a lot of I mean, when you look at the history of the world and the relationship with the black culture and other and don't get me wrong, I don't want to just say only blacks because this has happened to any culture that has been colonialized. I was just talking to an acquaintance of mine yesterday about she was from India, and she was talking about the history that had happened to her people and the different injustices that had happened and continues to happen. And there was three of us from different cultures speaking. I was, she was, sorry, she was Indian, and the other person that was speaking was from Afghanistan. And all three of us were talking about colorism and how that has been affected by being colonized, and how all of us, anyone, any country, any island, any space on this earth that has had that happen to them, everything that has happened where you are taught to hate the way that you look, you are taught to hate
Hmm.
to hate your hair, your skin, your speech, your nose, your butt, your I mean your boobs. I mean you name it, you were taught to hate it, right? And
Hmm.
uh and she said people hate what they can't have. That I remember her saying that. And so, so we are left with that. And then you have the other side where people are put in a box to be taught to be afraid of what they don't know and don't understand. And so you have people over here being taught that they're less than, and then people over here being taught that uh, if you don't understand it, then it's you should fear it. And then you have these two separated, right? And no one trying to understand. And when people try to understand, now it's how sensitive. Okay, bye, Rudy. Thank you for coming in. He say, I gotta go, guys. Rudy's having a barbecue. He's having a good old damn time. Thank you, Rudy. Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks for coming in. Yeah, and so we're still left with some being afraid to ask questions now. So now we're in the stage of I want to understand, but how do I go about talking about race? How do I go about asking questions? And then how do I let my guard down around people that have hurt my people? So now we're in that
Yeah.
stage, and I think that's where we are right now, and that's why I say we've come a little bit of a ways. Especially, I think the George Floyd video really kind of took us back to Rodney King again,
Hmm. Yeah.
and opened up the conversation again around race, and that was where we were able to say, okay, here we are now. This is where we're the space we are in now. Can we talk about it? So now we're at the table. How do we have these conversations around race where others are not offended and people are accountable? I think that we're going to leave it right there. I think that's a good place to leave it. And
Hmm.
yeah, so yeah, we're left with the questions of the O.J. Simpson trial, but we're not left with questions with
Yes.
around race. Where we are is sitting at the table, and we're all at the table, and we have to be open minded and opened for conversation for these things to change, so that when crime happens, injustice does not happen at the same time. Fair? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the part. Oh, thank you so much, Colette, with love for sharing
No
all the
problem.
the background and the information. I know you did a lot of research, and you had, it's one of the trials that you had a lot of knowledge about, and that's why I invited you to come to the show tonight. And this part of the show, tell me about your edges. We don't have much questions around, but we are going to talk about two things. The contest, for the recipe. The recipe I'm going to share tonight is a Mediterranean recipe that helps with lower uh, blood pressure. It's very simple, but you have to have the right ingredients now. So here are the ingredients: tomatoes. You need 4 tomatoes, okay?
Or
And they must
tomatoes.
be vine tomatoes. They have to be vine tomatoes. You just can't get any ordinary tomatoes now. It has to be vine tomatoes. Uh, Garlic. So 2 cubes of garlic, fresh. All of these items are fresh. Nothing synthetic, please. because it's a vegan recipe. Uh, now you have to have peppercorn, but grind it into black pepper. So grounded fresh black pepper. Okay. And then 1 large onion sliced. And you're going to saute this with avocado oil or uh, extra virgin olive oil. Okay. Now you simmer it, saute it, and get, so you'll know it's finished when the onions are done. Onion and the garlic, once it's cooked through, put it over a medium stove and, in a skillet and saute that up. You put that aside. You're going to add 1 medium avocado sliced. And then you're going to get 1 can of tuna. You can do a can of tuna in water, the one that comes in water, or you can get fresh tuna. And if you do fresh tuna, you do a dry rub with garlic, parsley, and thyme rub.
Oh no.
Oh,
She can't hear
yeah,
us.
her reception is bad. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for coming by,
Bye.
baby face. Bye. Okay, and then where was I? Okay, and then you're gonna take it.
Can of tuna.
Yeah, can of tuna, or you can have if you're gonna do a dry rub on the real tuna, you do a dry rub with parsley and thyme and oregano, and you rub it. You know, obviously clean your meat, and those are for people who are pescatarian. That's why I'm doing both. If you're a vegan, instead of doing the tuna, you will use a quinoa wrap, and you will take the sautéed tomatoes and the avocado and wrap it in the quinoa wrap. If you're not vegan and you're pescatarian or vegetarian, you can take the tuna and just have it with some pita bread. But brand pita, yeah. So that's the recipe. So if you can make that, you can make it. Show me making it. Post it on your post. Hashtag embrace your vegan and
Embrace your
link it
vegan.
to our page. And at the end of the week, we will select a winner for that week. And that will go to the end of the month. And we'll have our grand winner next month.
Yes.
Yes. And then next week, we have a special guest. We have best-selling author Peggy Unlock. She has a book out. Is called Survive to Strive. I keep getting that wrong. I was reading
I
that last
believe.
night.
Yeah.
I bought it last night. We're going to give away a signed copy of her book next after the show. So there will be a contest. So listen carefully about the show. It's called Survive Then Strive.
Mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically about mental health. Um, you can find it on Amazon. It is a bestseller on there. It's Understanding Post-Traumatic Stress. And I can tell you, Peggy's very much about women. I met her during Toastmasters. Toastmasters is an organization that teaches you about speaking and presentations. And she is just an ultimately amazing person and a great author. And I can't wait to have her on the show next week. So with that, I want to thank you for stopping in. And we are here one more time next Saturday live on YouTube and of course streaming on Spotify after. And then following week we're going to move it into the weekdays because we heard your we heard your pleas and your begs and everything, and we agree. Okay, we're going to move it to the weekdays so that you can get a little bit more involved, and we're willing to do that. So with that, I want to thank everyone for stopping in today. Colette, you have anything to share?
Keep keep no I'm being notified on Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify. So, but Facebook and Instagram, like make sure you check in and you know
Yes.
don't miss a beat.
Don't miss a beat. And my book is coming out in
Yeah,
July, so I hope that you can
right.
support me as well. I'll have a day where it's a special price and we can go from there. So with that, I want to thank Rudy, Victor, Baby Eiffel, Babyface Eiffel,
Petra.
Petra, and all those who stopped by tonight. I want to thank you so much for coming through, and for all those listening on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, we will see you next Saturday here on Embrace Your Edges.
Your
Bye, everybody. Good
edges.
night. Oh,
Good
there's one more
night.
person. Night, fam. June
Oh,
Lou.
oh,
Oh, June was
Juna.
there. Hi, June. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for coming through. Night. Night, everybody.